they mature and broaden their feature set and stabilize. And because of that, it's almost a bit of a risk for us as consultants to take on a lot of tools at once. So we've really narrowed into a handful of tools.
NoCodeList.
Hello, net denizens. This is Cody Blair. I'm with NoCodeList. Today, we have the honor of talking with Stefan Quartemont, who is the owner and chief guru black belt of Appsheet at QREWTech.com, QREW with Q. So, Stefan, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome, Cody. Thanks for putting out there that, black belt in the no-code app development skills with Appsheet.
You got the skills that kills. Nice.
Hopefully. Don't want to hurt anybody. All right.
Right. So tell me a little bit about QREW Tech. What do y'all do?
Yeah, man. QREW is a business automation professional services company. And so we work with businesses trying to automate any type of business workflow. And we specialize in introducing no-code tools like Appsheet to help them take advantage of, the quick, rapid development cycle that no code allows, its connectedness to existing data sources that you might already be using, to structure business processes, simplify the workflow, and make enjoyable work experiences for their teams. So we do that with consulting. We do that with development. So if they don't have the staff to develop, we can develop that project for you. Or if you are looking to further empower your staff or a lot of your staff, because citizen development and building those centers of excellence where lots of employees around the company might want to develop some applications for their specific use cases, we do team training as well.
Nice. So, Stefan, I assume that you weren't always the no-code king we see before us today. I would like to hear about some time where you just totally screwed life up. You did a face plant, everything went bad. Tell me about that.
Well, so literal face plant. When I was like 15, 16, my brother and I were gymnasts and loved going to the neighborhood pool and doing flips off the diving board. And the lifeguards would bribe us. Actually, they'd get us food from the grill. If we did some cool tricks. So we definitely milked that for all that we could get. And so
half gainer for a hot dog kind of thing. Huh?
Exactly.
All
exactly.
Right.
So I was trying to both one up my brother and, really score a good meal. So I was trying for a 2.5 front flip to a dive. I'd never done that. And I was just feeling gutsy. And so jump in there, do the double flip. And I'm like coming around to like get ready for the dive. And I'm way closer to the water than I thought. And smacked my face literally right on the water with the force of the flip plus the height of the dive. I thought I knocked my eyeballs to the back of my head. So that was a literal face plant. I've had many business experiences as well that were similar. I'm just going to go for the big thing and blast my face.
You should have stuck with a backflip, man. Backflip for burrito does it for you. No,
that would have only got me some chips.
Okay. Had to been something a little bit more than that. Well, thank you for sharing that. So now that everybody out there in Appland realizes that he's just a man, Stefan, we'd like to get some of your insights and expertise on how you build these apps. What do you do? How Appsheet works? What you like about it? So tell me first, though, how did you get started with Appsheet?
Great question. And I think everybody has a different answer for how they get started in no code because nobody went through school and heard the term no code.
Right.
You know about computer software development, you know about traditional engineering, but nobody's going around saying you can build apps without code.
Right. You know that they do hear about this in school today, though. I was talking to a student just the other day from Texas A&M, and I was telling him about no-code apps and what I was doing with NoCodeList and stuff. And he was like, oh, we were talking about that in class yesterday. So they're getting there. Okay.
Bro, I want to talk to this professor.
Well,
see if we can come alongside him.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
When I was in school, that was not the conversation as it is today. And so, Google Workspace was just becoming a thing, G Suite and all of those cloud-based collaboration tools. So fast forward, I'm in some post-college job activities. I'm working for a remodeling company at the time. And I'm managing some spreadsheets for them for their estimating process.
Okay.
And this is a really small op. And I was just kind of flying solo at the time without a lot of admin support. So I was just making it up as I went. And I was like, yeah, this is really inefficient. There's got to be some way to build a better interface. I had a little bit of graphic design experience, a little bit of web development experience, and had read up on what it would look like to be a software engineer and said, well, that's too much of a commitment to like a lot of low level concepts that I don't have time for, because I'm more interested in just solving business problems.
Gotcha.
So I'm looking for a solution for these spreadsheets, and it was on Google Sheets, and I looked through the extension store and I am seeing some interesting things. And then one pops up and it says, build an app for free off the data in your spreadsheet. And I was like, build a native app off your Google Sheet for free? That's got to be a gimmick.
Right.
And it was Appsheet, and that meant nothing at the time, right? Nobody knew what that was. And I didn't do anything with it then. And then the next day I come back around and I'm still frustrated. I'm looking at it, like, it's free. I'll just try it. So I create an account, connect, a test Google Sheet, and I start monkeying around with the Appsheet editor interface. And a couple hours later, I come out with an app that's on my phone. And I'm like actually taking pictures of things and recording data and saving files to the cloud and changing data in my spreadsheets. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. I just went from idea to full-blown application in just a couple hours, not a couple months.
Right.
Like, everybody in the software world was saying. So that was my start, and it was really kind of addicting to like get the progress that quickly and have tangible efficiency gains right off the bat. So built a few apps for that company. They went through some turbulent times. I was looking for other work and ended up finding some freelance opportunities with Appsheet.
Okay.
This was 2016 maybe, and found enough freelance work to kind of provide for my wife and I. And it was meager to start, but I mean, with tools like Upwork and the different freelancer communities out there, you can really make a good income pretty quick if you have an in-demand skill. And I was able to get a couple of projects, a couple of clients, and really started seeing a lot of traction with Appsheet, getting better at building the apps, getting better at applying them appropriately to the business use cases, and seeing that there was a lot more demand out there for automating spreadsheets or moving data between systems or automatic document generation. So people wanting to build reports off of their business data that's off somewhere else. They want to automatically create these different PDF reports or documents that they need for legal reasons or it's part of their downstream process. And Appsheet really shined with those things. And I was just seeing so much traction, brought a couple of friends in. I'm like, hey, this is fun. This is cool. Do you want to do this with me? I mean, part of my business dream is I want to do my 8 to 5 with my best friends. And not everybody you work with is going to be your best friend per se, but just that sense of community and really wanting to live life authentically with people and create opportunities for my friends. So that's kind of what QREW, team, community, that ethos there. That's kind of where it came out of. And as Appsheet began to grow, we began to grow with them as their partner program increased, and we gained some favor with them, started working directly with their sales team, all the way up to their acquisition by Google. And now we're still working a little more indirectly with them as they're getting more established in their place in the Google family, but still having a ton of amazing opportunities to help businesses big and small win with Appsheet.
Nice. Very nice. So I've been to your office before. It's a rather unique setup. You walk into a gaming center / coffee house kind of vibe there. So tell me, what's your favorite guilty pleasure around the office there?
Yeah. With the probably $10,000 worth of coffee equipment that we have, maybe more than that at this point. My guilty pleasure is not coffee as much as some of the other people on the team, but I do really enjoy Super Smash Brothers. So there's something about getting 4 to 6 people all in a room together and just trying to destroy each other. It just brings out the competitive spirit, and you get a ton of smack talk, and we always try to leave at the end of the day friends, but in the middle of the day during lunch break, we're all enemies and really going for it.
Stefan, this is the place I want to work. All right. Are you hiring? Yeah, man, that sounds like a blast. That sounds like a good time, and it probably improves creativity and crew morale as well, I'm sure.
It does improve morale. I don't know if it helps us in any other way, but it's certainly fun.
Let's off some steam at least. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned Appsheet, and I know y'all do a lot of training with Appsheets, and you use it heavily for the apps that you develop as well. Are there any other, and we will get to, I want to hear from you, like, what are the key things about Appsheet that everybody should know? How do you get started? What are the hiccups that kind of all the newbies run into when they first start, so we can give our listeners something really to walk away with. It's going to be useful to them.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear about some other no-code tools that maybe you use or like.
Yeah. There's a lot out there to choose from. And one of the unique things, so I've been in the space since 16. So we'll say, 6 years ish. And that in that time, hundreds or thousands of no-code tools have emerged, and other existing tools have adopted some no-code capabilities. And to get real business impact, where I sit for clients and where the QREW team sits for clients is really in that expert seat of how to rightly utilize a tool, to use it appropriately, use it at the right scale, build it robustly, and really suit it to their business process appropriately. We have to go really deep on the tool stacks, and these tools, because their software teams are embracing this iterative development cycle and really listening to their community, their feature sets expand and improve really fast. A lot of them start with sort of a meager but key feature set and a lot of bugs, and they mature and broaden their feature set and stabilize. And because of that, it's almost a bit of a risk for us as consultants to take on a lot of tools at once. So we've really narrowed into a handful of tools.
All right.
So not that there's not great ones out there, but as far as what we're going to be experts in for the time being, Appsheet was our first one. Zapier is a really great tool to move data between systems and sort of automate some of those cross-system workflows. Connects to thousands of other tools out there. And then it has a competitor called Integromat, great Australian software. Gotta love the Aussies. So we use that at different times based on customer need or what have you. We use Appsheet for a lot of our tools, but we also use Trello for our direct project management.
Sure.
We pull a lot of data back from Trello through like Google Cloud serverless functions. So that gets a little more into the code or low code world, and then Google Apps Script as well to connect different Google services and help automate some more data-driven processes.
Nice.
And then because we have a training website where we sell online training, and then occasionally customers come to us and they want a consumer-facing application, not an internal business application.
Right.
And Appsheet really isn't geared for B2C type applications. You're not going to build your SaaS tool on Appsheet. It's designed to be used by internal team members for internal business-facing workflows. So for a handful of reasons, it's not a SaaS, build your own SaaS tool. And so for that, we usually recommend Bubble. That's the one that we got on early. It was one of the early to market no-code SaaS building platforms, and has really broadened its feature set and really stabilized down. And so there's a lot of new ones coming out that are growing and getting more stable,
right?
Which, would love to experiment more with those. But Bubble is the one that we said, okay, we're going to commit to this, dive in and get expert knowledge here. So we've done a few customer projects, but a lot of our internal site development for our training platform is built with Bubble.
I applaud your self-control. I get so distracted by every new little no code app tool that comes out there. I spend all my time learning new stuff and never go.
Well, that's right. That's NoCodeList. It's
Right.
the directory of
that's
of,
yeah.
hundreds
So
of
I'm at the
tools.
right place, right? I get to do this over and over again. So that's fun. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that you train people in best practices with Appsheets, how to build their internal apps with using Appsheet stuff. Tell me about some of the common challenges that your students or customers come to you with.
Yeah. So I'll talk about specifically people that are wanting to learn Appsheet. So either they're working for a company, they've identified Appsheet as a possible solution. Maybe they were like me, found it in the extension store and started just fiddling around with it. And they saw the appeal that, oh man, I can bring my ideas to life really quickly. But then they get stuck in some hurdles along the way and they can't really flesh out the solution that they want. So the key hurdles that we're solving for students early on is really around data structure. So how do I design a database, which really most of the time these apps are going to start in Google Sheets. And so the term, I use the term database to talk about the structure of data, not really where it exists. It's not always in a formal SQL type database. But even in a Google Sheet, you need to treat it more statically. You don't want a bunch of random fields everywhere and chart here and a pivot table there. You want a nice, clean, tabular data sets, rows and columns, right? So we help students there understand why that's necessary. And then also the relational aspect of data. So if you have like a task tracker that you want to do, but you want it to be tracking tasks for your customers. Well, you have customers and then those customers are going to have tasks. But maybe also those are project dependent, right? Your client may require you work on 2 different projects or 3 different projects for that customer. And so you want to nest the tasks under a project. So being able to set up a database where you have a table of clients,
right?
And that the attributes of those clients, so maybe their name, email, location, billing rate, things like that. Then a table of projects, the name of the project, the description, any special billing related things for that or statusing of that project. And then your task table that has the time you've worked on it, the description of what you've done, maybe a category of type of work, who worked on it on your team, something like that. And instead of like having one big massive table where you're repeating a bunch of data, how to break that out into multiple data objects or data tables, and then relate that data back to each other. So you have this nice hierarchical flow back and forth of data to where you can roll up statistics for your client and say, we've got 3 projects with 500 tasks done for them, 350 billing hours, all the different stats that you can roll up, as well as on the task level, pull data down from the client, like their billing rate, and multiply it by the time used to get, the total amount of billable time for that task.
Right.
Being able to set up those structures is not intuitive. People aren't necessarily coming out of the gate with best practices on that. So we like to set that good foundation of healthy relational data structure, how it applies to your app development, because Appsheet is different than a lot of other no-code platforms. It asks for data first, and then it builds a UI for you, gives you some configuration options to customize it, but it's not drag and drop, which some people don't like. Some people want a really custom user interface. But that's, again, Appsheet's an internal business tool, right? A lot of times you just want to get your business logic orderly, build the process, and not spend a ton of time customizing things like margin and padding on the user interface.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, big challenge that students have at first is just how they structure the database in the first place. And y'all are helping them with
breaking down their business problem into a suitable data structure, right?
Data structure.
Breaking their process down into a data structure.
Nice. All right. Any other challenges that they often come to you with or that cause them problems right at first?
The logic of the application. Every no-code tool out there has some element of logic configuration.
Right.
It's not necessarily going to be statically like a known programming language like SQL or JavaScript or something like that, but it might look like spreadsheet logic, or it might look like some natural language version of code. Like that's what Bubble uses. Appsheet uses more spreadsheet-like declarative programming syntax.
Okay.
And so understanding the key paradigms in that logic language so that you can start to translate your logical requirements, like this field should be updated when this other field equals this status.
Okay.
And then doing math and list operations like searches across other tables, doing those things like maybe at the client level, finding out the maximum amount of hours worked on a task, right? You have to do a search in another table to pull that back. How are you going to structure that? How do you write the syntax? So we help primarily understand data structure, the quick overview of how to just deploy your app, which Appsheet makes fairly intuitive anyway, and then how to understand their expression or logic language, the nuances of it so that you can start translating your more complex business logic into a real life app computation.
All right. So data structure is a big hang up. Just learning the logic of the app is a big challenge at first. And so you help people with that. Now, y'all produce like final solutions for people as well. They can just come to you and say, here's our business problem. Here's the data structure that we've got currently. Y'all take it and run with it and produce this internal app that we can use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Not the company doesn't always have the resources or the time to build it themselves, even though we want everybody to like really take advantage of what Appsheet can do for them. And that is always most when somebody who lives, eats, sleeps the business knows how to build these apps and can start just cranking them out because all the logic's already here. They don't have to try to communicate that to a third-party team. We're happy to sit in that place of a sort of an augmented staff person or contract developer to help them bring a quality solution to bear on their business.
Nice. So tell me about some of the maybe favorite solutions you've seen come out of Appsheet. Like, we had this one company that came to us and they wanted to do X, Y, and Z, and it worked beautifully.
Yeah. So we've had some really incredible opportunities to work with a variety of types of customer as well as impactful use cases. So one of my most interesting use cases was for helping the city of Los Angeles in their COVID response. So they reached out to Google and said, hey, Google, we have this problem where we have all of these city relief efforts going on across Los Angeles, which is a massive city. And our internal city employees are offering to spend their work hours working there, but we need a way to schedule them and to go through the list of our 5,000 or 55,000 employees.
Wow.
And see who's eligible to even be reached out to connect on one of these projects. So Google looped in our team because they identified as a possible solution for Appsheet. And I got to work with a team of probably 7 or 8 people from different departments in the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And we worked for 10 days and worked for 3 to 4 hours a day altogether, building out an application that managed the logistics and deployment of 200,000 shifts in the next 30, 60 days. So that was a really fun, fast development. A lot of people were bringing their part of the equation. So it had to be connected to the city employee database. It had to be connected to a SQL database as well that was running special operations for managing the scale of data and different batch operations that we needed. So there were teams working on that. There were teams feeding business logic from the different angles and branches of the city that were involved in the process.
Yeah.
And it was really like sitting there and watching an orchestra being conducted, everybody playing their part, and something really powerful and impactful coming out of it very quickly. Most teams aren't together enough to do that.
Right.
So I was really impressed with the city of LA and the way their team dynamics worked there.
Nice.
And also their commitment to just bring the solution forward. The Appsheet team had to help us solve some weird bugs we were finding. And so they introduced a variety of performance improvements. So everybody was working really hard to bring a quality solution together that was used for months, even past COVID response. There was a lot of other, trickle down social programs and issues that were being solved via this tool, even after lockdown ended.
Wow, that's huge. And that's a monstrous project. It sounds like that's like hundreds of man hours and lots of people coming in on that to solve a huge necessary problem with a definite time limit on it. So amazing. Can you tell me about, have you had any students that have just come out with an app that's maybe very small scale, but just was really clever or pleasing to them? Or
yeah, so let me think on that. Good student use cases. Man, I've been out of the operations of our training stuff to the point where I don't even know who's in there anymore.
Yeah. No worries. We can skip that.
As a business owner, it's super fun.
Yeah. But we can just skip that question if you want to. No problem.
If you want to re-ask it to me,
okay.
I've got an answer. So.
Okay. So do you have any examples of maybe a student goes through, learns how to use Appsheet, builds an app that's for something small and just for them or just for their small business that was really clever or that you really enjoyed?
Yeah. One of my favorite consulting clients, his name is Randy. He worked for a petrochemical company in Texas and, found Appsheet, was starting to build some really unique applications to solve for a pretty big problem that the company had. The company operated at a pretty big scale. So sometimes even a small operational problem at scale can be a big dollar issue.
Sure.
And over about a year of consulting with Randy, he built several apps and was doing other job duties as well. But he pumped out several applications that solved these small problems.
Right.
And ended up saving the company something to the tune of like $50 million.
Wow.
And lost revenue, basically.
Wow.
Things that they weren't billing. They were contractually available to bill, but they didn't have the data to support that they should bill those things. And so they recouped like $50 million.
Dang, I hope Randy got a raise.
I hope so too. I mean, that was outstanding work. And it's just a testament to both the intelligence and awareness that a lot of line of business people have on what could be improved about their working experience and how big the gap is between the people who can identify and design a good solution and the people who can, bring that thing to life. Traditionally has been very detached, separate teams with very strict technological or time limitations for considering traditional development. So the app never would have been built.
Right.
But because of no-code technology really bridging that gap, allowing Randy to take his great idea and bring it to life, it made a massive impact on the organization.
Nice. So the no-code solution for the win there. And Randy, in the past, he would have had to go and learn all of these programming languages and maybe had to go to school for a lot of that. Nowadays, he can take a couple of courses online and put in his, time in the seat and actually produce something that saves the company $50 million or gains the company $50 million that they would have missed out on. Otherwise.
On my first call with him, he was telling me how he was learning Swift, which is like the iOS programming language.
Right.
And I was like, Randy, that's really impressive, but you can build an app today without having to learn Swift. Like,
overkill.
Let me show you what's up.
Right.
And he hook, line, and sinker, man, that guy went all the way with his ideas and made some massive impact.
Nice. Nice. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So I'd like to hear about like what in no code land keeps you up at night now. What are you super excited about?
I'm excited for seeing platforms become more scalable. I think a lot of the no-code platforms out there weren't anticipating the type of use cases that people would put them against. I know for tools like Bubble, where people build pretty great software as a service solutions, take them to market and have this just swarm of adoption that just totally crashes servers and blows up databases and, just puts the tools to the test. And, their engineering teams are having to go back and improve a lot of the infrastructure to handle these things of scale. Appsheet has had to do a lot of the same. And there are still use cases that I'm like, oh, I really want to do things like real-time data syncing or some of the niche, not always super cool stuff, but like, I just wish it was there, would really streamline a couple of different processes. So I'm excited for every new feature that comes out for every no-code tool. It's just really fun to see like, oh, that tool can be in my tool belt now to solve a problem. Yes, I like that. Just a pet project, something that I'm like, man, I wish there was a no-code solution for. Maybe there is, maybe I haven't found it yet. Is like web scraping. So there's a lot of reasons, good business reasons to web scrape. And there's a lot of sites that have good data that you may even have profile level access to with your account, but they don't have an API or a way to like pull that data back and really use it at scale. So no code web scraping tools would be awesome. Just as pet project, I'm like working on some, JavaScript code web scraping stuff just for fun. And it's tedious, man. And it is tricky to get past these things, but where no code really shines is it takes all of the necessary things to do it well, structures them, makes them very professional, very stable, and lets you build on top of that great foundation rather than having to build the foundation from scratch.
Nice. Very good. All right. Let's say I'm a no code newbie. I'm a no code app ape and I am still in the guppy stage and I am going to get good at Appsheet and I'm going to build the killer app for my company. Give me maybe 3 key pieces of advice that will just make my life so much easier.
Okay. So first piece of advice, pick a good problem. And a good problem looks like not the biggest problem, not the one size fits all solution, but to me, when I meet someone new who's interested in using Appsheet, I'm saying, what's the easiest problem you can solve that makes a decent impact? So it makes a meaningful impact on the business, doesn't take a lot of time, and it's not risky. It's not something business critical yet, but could be quick, simple, and make a meaningful impact on the business. Pick that problem first. So you're not biting off more than you can chew or biting off more than your bosses want you to chew, right? You're not going to set yourself up for failure. So pick a good problem. Secondly, try it first by yourself. Just go on the Appsheet website, open the editor, and try for a couple of hours to do it yourself. Get stuck, and then go to YouTube, check out our channel. We've got a lot of free resources. Watch one of the full build videos. Watch us build an app from scratch, start to finish, and you'll uncover some of the things you're like, oh, that's what I need to do there. Oh, that's what I need to do. You'll unblock a few blocks and keep pushing forward in the development.
Right.
And then
what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Appsheet Training is the name of the channel.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And so from those videos, you should be able to get, or you might be able to get, everybody's a little different in their no code journey, where they're coming from, their background, and what their point of relation is to it. But try to get an app out and deployed and testing on your phone first. And if, with some of the free materials that are out there, read some of the Appsheet documentation maybe. And then when you're ready to like take it to the next level, I would encourage you to try one of our courses. We have a great, we call it Appsheet Essentials. It really just takes you ground level, all the core concepts around data, all the core concepts around how the editor works, best practices for some UI configurations and things like that. And then our expression mastery or advanced logic in your app will help you tackle that next logical element where you want to start doing more meaningful business calculations and automating some of the stuff that you were doing in spreadsheets, backfilling and processing, data after you may have gotten CSV import from somebody, and you're going to do all the fancy stuff. So once you're ready to do the fancy stuff, take our expressions course. It'll save you a ton of time in, trying to build those calculations, and really take it to the next level of efficiency and automation in your app.
Nice. All right. So you said start small with a real world problem. Try it yourself. Then once you get stuck, get help. What would your number 3 tip be?
Yeah, I'd say get the free help first, and then get out to users. Number 3. Yeah, get the free or paid help. Get it out to users as fast as possible. Get their feedback. Maybe not send out to 100 users, but get 1 or 2 people to test it and try it. Let them give you feedback, be a good listener, and try to incorporate their ideas into the app and watch their response. When you put a feature in that they asked for, they're like, oh, now I have this input, and you start that is, affecting the application. I can't code. I don't know anything about Appsheet, but I just told this guy and he responded, or I told this woman and she responded, heard me, built something, and now I'm having a tool that fits me, right? And the whole team starts coming around and building some momentum around the solution. And that's really when you start to get traction, and buy-in from everyone.
Beautiful. Stefan Quartemont, Appsheet aficionado and guru at QREWTech.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate all the great insights. Best wishes to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. Really appreciate it, man.
You bet. NoCodeList.